I know I'm 2 years late on talking about this, but I had to. And it's because this is one of my favorite cartoon series ever. I grew up with the cartoon series on Disney Afternoon. I love and played the ever loving crap out of the original video game on the DS. Or on the, not the DS, but the NES, and also the reboot that I have on my Xbox. I love Ducktales. Like, I absolutely love it. I have not read the comics, but good grief. Now that I know that IDW is actually making the rebooted version of the comics, I'm freaking reading them. I will probably buy an entire series and read the crap out of them because I love DuckTales that much. And I absolutely love what they've done with the reboot. And I know that I was kind of apprehensive at first because I'm like, oh, you're bringing back a classic. What are they going to do? They did it well. And honestly, I love the original voice of Scrooge McDuck. It is a shame that he passed away. But I am really happy that they got someone closer. They actually have the 10th Doctor, David Tennant, one of my favorite doctors ever, being the voice of Scrooge McDuck. I'm straight. He is great. He's definitely a modern version of Scrooge McDuck. I have no beef. The cast, the revoices of the cast are pretty cool. But I would say there's a few twists and turns with some of the characters. They have changed from the original DuckTales during the whole Disney Afternoon days. Now, when it comes to Donald Duck and the Scrooge McDuck dynamic, I had no idea that Donald hated Scrooge that much. But there has to be a reason for that they just didn't bring up. And I think they're going to bring that up later. They're going to stretch like mysteries and stuff later for those that have not read the comic. You know, maybe in the comics they actually do reveal what caused them to the huge rift. But honestly, I love the fact that they had that animosity towards each other, and down the line, and even at the end of the entire episode, which felt like 2 episodes in one, they actually started understanding each other better. Now, I love what they did with Mrs. Beakley. I absolutely love what they did with Mrs. Beakley. She looks like a retired Bond villain. I like it. I really do. She looks like she can break somebody's... She can break somebody in half. She could probably take somebody's head, stick it like right on her arm where her bicep is, flex her bicep, and crush their head like a grape. I could actually imagine that. But the strangest thing is, it's like, where's Duckworth? Like, where in the world is Duckworth? I know they talked about Gyro being in there, and I love Gyro as crazy as he is. They talked about Darkwing Duck possibly making an appearance, which makes me extraordinarily happy. They said that Gizmo Duck will be in it as well, and he's a huge part in the actual episode. And we do have our main villain, Flintheart Glomgold, which is the main villain in this. And he's a bit fatter than he used to be. But other than that, I was wondering where Duckworth was. I mean, Duckworth was the dude. Like, I love Duckworth. He made Mr. Belvedere look like Mr. Belvedere. I can't come up with an analogy, but I love Duckworth, and I really hope that he comes back because I didn't see him. It was just disappointing, man, that I didn't see him in that first episode. But seeing how it actually does start off and how Donald is living on a boat with these 3 boys and trying to make ends meet, that he lost his job and he's trying to get a job, and he ends up getting a job with his worst enemy. That was probably the best plot they've ever set up for like the first episode I've ever seen. And I'm not trying to gush so much because I am a fan of the show. It's a great way to set up a beginning. But the one problem that I have at the original was Webby. I hated Webby. Like, I should have been excited about Webby because Webby was a girl amongst a whole bunch of dudes. But Webby was annoying. Like, she was annoying in the original show. She was way too girly. She was way too whiny. Her voice was this, oh gosh, it just got on my nerves. But then you got used to her as time went on. I kind of like this Webby. I enjoy the modern version of Webby. That chick has no problems in like diving into something scary. Like, that's why I like about that Webby. If they didn't make that Webby so whiny, like she was a 5-year-old, then I would be okay with her. But the reboot, they did an excellent job with her. They made her more fierce, as well as more demanding of respect and not afraid of what the boys say about her. Like, she doesn't like she cares that much at all. Of course, Launchpad is in it. I love Launchpad. Launchpad is great. I love this version of him. this version of him is not as ditzy and as idiotic as the original one, and I'm cool with that. He's still awesome. I absolutely love it. But I'm hoping somehow they'll fit Magica the Spell in there somehow, because her and Flintheart, oh my gosh, they were two of the best villains I have ever seen in the entire series, and I'm hoping they bring her back. It will be great. I'm hoping she'll be in season 1. And they've already greenlit season 2, so if she's not there, please be in season 2. But I will say that one thing is a bit off-putting was the boys. Like, Huey, Dewey, and Louie has always been snarky, but they've never been outright, like, juvenile, delinquent, disobedient type of kids. Like, they've always been mellow compared to those two. Like, for those that haven't seen the episode that The Simpsons and Family Guy finally had an episode together, and they actually did do an actual scene with Bart and Stewie, and how they compare Stewie to Bart, and Bart was more mild compared to Stewie. That's pretty much how the triplets were. Like, the triplets in the beginning, the triplets for the original were like Bart, and now you got Huey, Dewey, and Louie like Stewie. Like, they literally look like they should be in jail. Like, honestly, straight up. Their voices don't necessarily match their bodies, though. That's the only problem that I have. Like, they don't sound like that they're their age, whatever age that they are. But these kids, hopefully they're in their, I can't say they're preteens, but I can't say they're probably in elementary school, and they don't sound like it either. But I will say that these kids are a little bit more aggressive than they used to be in the original. That's not too bad, but at least they have more heart and more emotion. And you kind of understand how they feel towards Scrooge McDuck, but that's how they were in the very beginning. They honestly left when Scrooge didn't want anything to do with them, and then they ended up getting into trouble. But I honestly saw that they really did admire this guy, and it's already been known of what he did in the past. So it seems like that they did a reboot, but they paid homage to the original. They didn't really forget about all of that. But the interesting dynamic that I think that really made this reboot shine is the family history of Donald's family. Now, this is something that a lot of Disney fans have been investigating for years. This has been a comic book. They even have a family tree on the internet. Google it. It's there. And nobody really knew exactly where Donald came from, but he comes from, and like, his whole family is Scottish. And that's the reason why that Scrooge McDuck is from Scotland, because he is Scottish. He is from Scotland. So I love the fact they mentioned the history and the dynamics between him and Donald and the family tree. And seeing how the end of the story was the biggest twist on how we're going to hear more about Huey and Dewey Louie's parents. Mostly his mom. And that's what I want to know about their parents. It's one thing we really didn't know who their parents were. And I think it's in the family tree, but I don't really remember. It's been years since I've seen it. But they're actually going to touch on mysteries that have been unsolved for years. And they're going to start it for the 30th anniversary of Ducktales that came out in September. And the whole series is going to start in September. But we actually saw a sneak peek in this month. But honestly, I am looking forward to this. This was great. Amazing reboot. I'm so excited. I'm excited about buying the comics. Guys, you really do need to check this out. But let me know how you feel about this whole show in the comments below. Let me know if you have any memories of DuckTales during the Disney afternoon days. Or let me know what you thought of the reboot. But other than that, guys, I am done here. I will see you later. Peace out.